And if you do, place this card from your pendulum zone into your opponent's pendulum zone.
Your turn, Yugi boy.
What is up, guys? This is AlintheaYoh coming at you with a card discussion today about a really interesting pendulum monster that's coming out in the next set's Invasion of Venom. And it's called Pandora's Treasure Box, and it's certainly going to open up a absolute wondrous amount of questions with this card, like opening up Pandora's box. So I'll just dive straight into it and then we'll talk about it later. So it is a dark pendulum with a scale of 4 and it is a level 4. It is a worm pendulum effect monster with 1500 attack and defense, and its effect reads as follows. The pendulum effect: if you have no cards in your extra deck, you can target one card in your opponent's pendulum zone and destroy it. If you do, place this card from your pendulum zone into your opponent's pendulum zone. And the monster effect: while you control no cards in your extra deck, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw during your draw phase. Well, that's certainly a really weird card that I haven't really seen at all, to be honest. It's a really interesting concept, so let's go over it. So it's a worm, no difference there. It's a level 4, completely fine. It's a dark, you kind of expect that looking at the art, and also the fact it's Pandora's box. It is a scale 4, which I argue is the worst scale possible, simply because you want to normally summon your level 4s, and unless you're playing a really high level deck, then the chances are you're going to be fine, but more often than not, there are gonna be lower levels that you want to special summon with your pendulum. Having this in your opponent's pendulum zone actually can cause a lot of blocks for them and can interestingly really work out. For example, if you're against like Cleafor, they have Scout and Monolith, you pop the Scout or something like that and then move it over and you're just like, really weird. But the thing I really want to talk about is the monster effect. While you have no cards in your extra deck, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw phase. That is super interesting and arguably could maybe be abused in certain ways. Now obviously the downside to both of these effects are you have to have no cards in your extra deck. So you're basically going to be playing anti-meta, stun, domain monarchs if you really want, but it's a very interesting card. So it's obviously a big ask not to have any cards in your extra deck. It's simply because that's what a lot of decks revolve around. It's a nice toolbox to be able to get out of dead situations. It's a really good thing to have. If you take that out of the equation, you need to have really strong cards in your deck, main deck, or if you are, for example, playing Chain Burn or something that doesn't really rely on extra deck, just relies on the core cards in your deck, then that will really work out. But as soon as I saw this card, I just instantly thought of counter fairies. I was like, you know what? I don't mind not being able to have an extra deck. Interestingly, I'm not entirely sure how it works with the pendulum. I still think if I have an Ariadne on top of my extra deck, I can't use the first effect. You know, that's a sacrifice you can make. You have Ariadne normally in your pendulum zone, so that's fine. Obviously, you're not going to be able to pendulum summon anything in that counter fairy deck, but that's not the point why it's there. I would really use it, unless in a clutch situation, I would really use it as a double draw, because that's absolutely insane. Imagine the pot of duality with Card of Demise, and this is so good. Add a Moon Mirror Shield onto this card, and boom, this card is staying here for a while. So I really like how this card works, and it's just genuinely interesting. Not being able to have an extra deck to be able to fulfill the requirements of the card effect is a very good and powerful one at that, because drawing 2 cards during your draw phase is an obscenely powerful effect, so they have to neuter it. It was like that Graceful Revival or whatever card that came out in Dragons and Legends, where you had to discard 5 cards from your hand to the graveyard, and then you could draw 2 every turn. That was bad, simply because if you discarded all your hand and then your opponent like MSD does something, you were just like, you win. But nevertheless, I really like how this card is. A lot of people have been saying they don't really like this card and it's just trash and not very good and different, and I'm like, I get that. For main decks and for meta decks, it's probably not going to be that very good, but this is great for anti-meta and just for stun in general like that. I really think it's a great card and a nice way to really keep decks flowing as well, especially if you can protect it with things like Mirror Forces, with the equipped spells and so on and so forth. So I want to know what you guys think of Pandora's Treasure Box. Do you think it is a really nice card, or do you just think it is trash that isn't going to be really used? So I'd say let me know down in the comment section below, and make sure to give me a like, comment, subscribe, and I shall catch you guys later.